It was supposed to be just another quiet Tuesday afternoon in Los Angeles. Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco had slipped into their favorite little coffee shop in West Hollywood, hoping for some normalcy away from the paparazzi and the constant buzz of their celebrity lives. The place was small, cozy, with mismatched vintage furniture and the kind of authentic atmosphere that reminded them both of simpler times. Selena sat across from Benny in a corner booth, her hands wrapped around a warm lavender latte, while he stirred honey into his black coffee. They were deep in conversation about their upcoming collaborative album, occasionally laughing at Benny's terrible jokes, when something made Selena's attention shift. At the table next to them, a young woman, probably in her early 20s, was crying softly while staring at her laptop screen. Her phone was pressed to her ear, and her voice, though hushed, carried the unmistakable weight of desperation. "Mom, I can't afford it anymore," the girl whispered into her phone. "The therapy sessions are $120 each, and without insurance, I'm already behind on rent. I know I need help, but I don't know what else to do." Selena's heart immediately clenched. The conversation was all too familiar, not from her own experience, thankfully, but from the thousands of messages she received daily from young people struggling with mental health issues who couldn't access the care they needed. Benny noticed Selena's expression change and followed her gaze. The young woman hung up the phone and put her head in her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Her laptop screen showed what appeared to be a therapy booking website, and scattered around her table were crumpled tissues and what looked like medical bills. "We have to do something," Selena whispered to Benny, her voice thick with emotion. "What are you thinking?" Benny asked, though he could already see the wheels turning in his fiancée's mind. Without answering, Selena quietly got up and walked to the counter. She approached the barista, a young man with kind eyes who recognized her, but was professional enough not to make a scene. "Hi," Selena said softly. "The young woman at table 7. Could you put whatever she orders today on my tab? And actually, could you add a pastry or something nice? But please don't tell her it's from me." The barista nodded with an understanding smile. "Of course. That's really kind of you." But as Selena walked back to their table, she realized that paying for a coffee and a muffin wasn't enough. Not for what she'd just witnessed. Not when she had the resources and platform to do so much more. "Benny," she said, sliding back into their booth. "You know how we've been talking about wanting to do more direct outreach with the Rare Impact Fund?" "Yeah," he replied, already sensing where this was going. "What if we started right here, right now?" Before Benny could respond, Selena was already gathering her courage. She stood up again, this time walking directly to the young woman's table. "Excuse me," Selena said gently. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I couldn't help but notice you seem upset. Are you okay?" The girl looked up, her eyes widening as she recognized Selena. "Oh my God, wait, are you Selena Gomez?" "I am," Selena smiled warmly. "But right now, I'm just someone who's concerned about a fellow human being. Can I sit down?" The girl, who introduced herself as Maya, nodded in shock. Selena gestured for Benny to join them, and soon the four of them were crowded around the small table. "I heard you on the phone," Selena said gently, "and I want you to know that you're not alone in this struggle. Would you be comfortable sharing what's going on?" What happened next would stay with all of them forever. Maya, through tears, explained that she was a junior at UCLA studying psychology because she wanted to become a therapist herself. She'd been struggling with anxiety and depression since her freshman year, but her family couldn't afford to help with treatment costs. "The irony is that I want to help people with mental health, but I can't even get help for myself," Maya laughed bitterly. "I've been on waiting lists for free clinics for months, and the student health center is overwhelmed." But here's where the story takes an incredible turn that nobody saw coming. If you're someone who's ever felt overwhelmed by mental health struggles or financial stress, make sure you hit that like button, because what Selena and Benny did next will restore your faith in humanity. "Maya," Selena said, pulling out her phone, "I want to help you right now, today. But more than that, I want to make sure other people in your situation get help too." Selena opened her notes app and started typing. "Benny and I are going to cover your therapy costs for the next 6 months. But I also want to ask you something. Would you be interested in helping us create a program that connects young people in coffee shops and casual spaces with mental health resources?" Maya's jaw dropped. Are you serious? Dead serious. Benny chimed in. Selena's Rare Impact Fund has raised over $16 million for mental health initiatives, but we're always looking for more direct ways to reach people who need help. What started as a spontaneous act of kindness in a coffee shop was about to become something much bigger. Selena immediately called her assistant and had her research local therapists who accepted sliding scale payments or pro bono cases. Within an hour, Maya had 3 appointments scheduled for the following week, all covered by Selena personally. But that was just the beginning. You know what? Selena said, looking around the coffee shop. I bet Maya isn't the only person here who could use support. She stood up and, with the permission of the coffee shop owner, addressed the entire cafe. Hi everyone, she said, her voice carrying across the small space. I'm Selena, and this is my fiancé Benny. We're here today because we believe that mental health support should be accessible to everyone, regardless of financial situation. The coffee shop, which had been buzzing with quiet conversation, fell completely silent. If anyone here is struggling with mental health and can't afford treatment, or if you know someone who needs help, please come talk to us. We're not here as celebrities. We're here as people who care. What happened next was absolutely beautiful. One by one, customers began approaching their table. A college student dealing with eating disorder recovery. A young father struggling with postpartum depression after his wife gave birth. An elderly woman coping with grief after losing her husband. By the end of the afternoon, Selena and Benny had connected 12 people with mental health resources, covering initial therapy costs for 6 individuals, and created a group chat for ongoing peer support. But the magic didn't stop there. The coffee shop owner, inspired by what he'd witnessed, offered to host weekly mental health cafe sessions. Local therapists, hearing about the initiative through social media, volunteered to provide free group sessions. Maya, whose life had been transformed in a single afternoon, became the coordinator for what would eventually be called the Café Connect program. I went from feeling completely hopeless to having a support system and a purpose, Maya said in a later interview. Selena and Benny didn't just change my life. They showed me how to help change others' lives too. Now here's the part that will absolutely blow your mind. So make sure you're subscribed because this story gets even more incredible. Within 2 weeks of that afternoon, Selena had worked with her Rare Impact Fund team to launch Café Connect officially. The program partners with independent coffee shops, bookstores, and casual gathering spaces to provide mental health resources and support. Each participating location gets trained staff, informational materials, and direct connections to local mental health professionals. They also receive funding to cover the cost of drinks or meals for anyone seeking mental health support. The idea is to meet people where they are, Selena explained in a podcast interview about the program. Mental health crises don't happen in therapists' offices. They happen in everyday spaces. So that's where support should be available too. But perhaps the most beautiful part of the story is what happened to Maya. 6 months after that day in the coffee shop, she not only had her anxiety and depression under control, but had also become a certified peer counselor. She now travels to different Café Connect locations, sharing her story and helping others navigate their mental health journeys. Selena always says that her mental health journey taught her that asking for help is brave, not weak, Maya said. But that day in the coffee shop, she taught me something even more important, that helping others heal can be part of your own healing. The program has since expanded to over 200 locations across 15 states. The original coffee shop in West Hollywood has a small plaque by the door that reads, "Where kindness began with a conversation." Benny, reflecting on that day, said it perfectly. We went in for coffee and came out with a mission. Sometimes the universe puts you exactly where you need to be to make a difference. But the ripple effects went even further than anyone could have imagined. Other celebrities began visiting Café Connect locations, not for publicity, but to genuinely connect with people and offer support. Local businesses started funding their own versions of the program. College campuses created similar initiatives. Most importantly, thousands of young people who were struggling in silence found their voices and their support systems. The beautiful thing about that day Selena said during a recent interview, is that it reminded us that change doesn't always have to be this big, organized campaign. Sometimes it starts with noticing someone who's hurting and deciding to care. The coffee shop initiative also influenced Selena's approach to her other philanthropic work. Instead of just donating money to existing organizations, she began looking for ways to create direct, personal connections with the people her foundation serves. I realized that day that being a billionaire isn't about having money. It's about how you use your resources to create opportunities for others, she said. Maya taught me that as much as I taught her. Speaking of Maya, she's now in her final year of her psychology degree and has been accepted to graduate programs for clinical psychology. Her therapy costs are still covered by the Rare Impact Fund, but she's also received scholarships based on her peer counseling work. I used to think my mental health struggles were my biggest weakness, Maya said. Now I know they're going to be my greatest strength as a therapist. The anniversary of Café Connect is celebrated every year on the date of that original coffee shop conversation. Participating locations offer free drinks all day, mental health professionals provide free consultations, and peer counselors share their stories. But perhaps the most touching tradition is that Selena and Benny return to that original West Hollywood coffee shop every year on that date. They sit in the same booth, order the same drinks, and make themselves available to anyone who wants to talk. It keeps us grounded, Benny explained. It reminds us that behind all the albums and awards and business ventures, the most important thing we can do is see people who are hurting and choose to help. The coffee shop owner has framed the receipt from Selena's first anonymous payment for Maya's order. It hangs behind the register with a note. Small acts of kindness can change the world. And Maya? She still comes to that coffee shop every Tuesday, usually with her laptop, working on her thesis about peer support models in mental health treatment. But now, instead of crying alone, she's often surrounded by other students and community members who've become part of her chosen family through Café Connect. I learned that healing isn't something you do alone, Maya reflected. It's something you do in community with people who see you and choose to care. If this story moves you, if you believe in the power of small acts of kindness to create massive change, hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments about a time when someone's kindness changed your day. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply notice someone who's struggling and ask if they're okay. The impact of that single afternoon continues to grow. Recently, Maya shared an update that brought Selena to tears. She's now engaged to someone she met through the Café Connect program. Another peer counselor who is also struggling with mental health challenges when they first connected. We joke that Selena and Benny didn't just save my mental health, they helped me find my soulmate too, Maya laughed during a recent video call with the couple. But honestly, the biggest gift was learning that vulnerability creates connection, not isolation. The program has also caught the attention of mental health researchers who are studying the Café Connect model as a potential framework for community-based mental health support. Early data shows that participants report 60% improvement in their mental health symptoms within 3 months of joining. What we're seeing is that peer support in comfortable, non-clinical settings can be just as effective as traditional therapy for many people, explained Dr. Sarah Chun, a UCLA researcher studying the program. Selena and Benny accidentally created something revolutionary. But perhaps the most powerful testament to the program's success came during a recent interview when Selena was asked about her proudest career achievement. Everyone expects me to say an album or a movie, she said, smiling. But honestly, it's knowing that Maya is going to become an incredible therapist and that hundreds of other young people found hope because we chose to care about a stranger in a coffee shop. And remember, you don't have to be a celebrity to change someone's life. Sometimes all it takes is caring enough to start a conversation.